I'm Jim Garrison. I want to welcome you to this session of Humanity Rising as we complete a 3-day program on enhancing our personal well-being. We also want to keep up with unfolding events as we start, so I'm going to take a moment to comment on how we need to be understanding what's going on with the almost frenetic pace of the Trump administration's attack on our civic institutions, which is something that I think everyone everywhere in the United States is getting increasingly preoccupied with, and no one quite understands what is actually going on. And I'd like to draw from an interview that just took place by Chris Como on News Nation with Stephen Bannon. Most of you will remember Stephen Bannon was the chief strategist for the Trump campaign back in 2016, someone who'd come out of Goldman Sachs, having served in the U.S. Navy, was a very conservative oriented, politically savvy individual that aligned himself with Trump from the very beginning. And then over the last several years, you may remember he ended up in jail for a number of months because he refused a subpoena to testify in relationship to the January 6th insurrection. Has now pled guilty to some state charges arising from related matters, and is now a podcaster. But if anyone understands the mind of Trump, if anyone has shaped the mind of Trump, it's Steve Bannon. And I'll put the link to the interview in the chat. I'll also be sending it out to a number of people because I think he's giving us an insight into what's happening in a very clear way. He makes two essential points that we in a democracy need to take very, very seriously. The first is that what is happening is the effectuation of what is called the unitary presidency, beginning with Dick Cheney in the aftermath of 9/11. There was the cultivation of a legal theory that the President of the United States, as commander-in-chief, as commander of the executive branch, as commander of the Justice Department, had essentially supreme power, like a monarch, and was not subject to the constitutional checks and balances. The first response to this theory was ridicule because no one thought that it amounted to much. But inexorably, over the last 25 years, this theoretical framework has taken hold in the Republican Party, in the MAGA movement, and very recently in the Supreme Court. You'll all recall that the Supreme Court last year, in a surprise decision, said that the President of the United States is not susceptible to any legal challenges and is in fact immune while he's in office for anything that he may or may not do that would be against the law or against the Constitution. That's the unitary theory of the presidency. And when you watch this interview by Steve Bannon, he makes clear that that is exactly what they're doing, and that the breakdown of the civic institutions, the challenge to judges, the violation of any kind of norms and procedures is specifically directed at establishing imperial power for the President of the United States. So we all need to just take this in. We all need to know that there's a theoretical framework, there's a strategic unfoldment of planning that's been very carefully orchestrated by the Project 2025 coming out of the Heritage Foundation, other right-wing think tanks, that now that the president has been elected, is unfolding like a sledgehammer against the republic. The judge that you recall last week that ordered the Trump administration to stop sending the Venezuelans out of the country, and the Trump administration just blew him off and sent the members, I forget, I think it was to Costa Rica or El Salvador, somewhere. He's now going to be impeached by the House of Representatives. And this is important because every time there's a challenge, the Trump administration is going to double down because they know exactly what they want to do. They know exactly how to do it. And they defy anybody, including the courts, to stand in their way. And now that they have the Supreme Court decision saying that the president is immune from any prosecution, there's nothing to essentially stand in their way. And we all need to just take this in. This is not chaos being sowed. This is a strategy being implemented. The second point that Bannon made is that they're not going to stop at 2028. They are already beginning preparations to establish legal procedures and processes whereby Trump can run again in 2028. They're not sure that they can finish the job in just 4 years. Their intent is to have as seismic a shift in American politics as happened in 1932, almost 100 years ago, with Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who saved the United States out of the Great Depression by implementing what he called the New Deal and establishing all the mechanisms, Social Security, Medicare, all the insurances, and the federal help around welfare to protect the middle class and to support the vulnerable. They see their destiny is to unravel all of that and go back to sometime in the 19th century where there were no social welfare support systems and everybody just does it on their own. It's important that we understand that there's a method to this madness. And to the degree to which we understand that, that's going to inform us for how we take the necessary actions if we're in fact going to save our republic. And the first awareness that we need to make and cultivate is that Donald Trump and the entire MAGA Republican infrastructure supporting him is dedicated to overthrowing the republic as we know it. And if we understand that strategic intent, we will be well served in terms of discerning the kind of tactics that can be employed, even at the 11th hour, to protect democracy as it's been evolved over nearly 250 years of history. So thank you, everyone, for joining us here on Humanity Rising. We'll have much more to say on unfolding world events as the days unfold. It's a very challenging moment for us all. But thank you.